All right, y'all, what's going on? It's Combo Breaker 99. I'm back with another video. All right, y'all, let's talk Maycee Barber. Just got done checking out this recent interview, and I'll post up the interview here in the description box as well. But Maycee Barber, she recently just did this interview for MMAnews.com, and she pretty much opened up about a lot of things going on with her career, her direction as a fighter. And after reading the text here, a couple of points I want to kind of go over with y'all. And listening to the whole interview, I have to say that, Maycee Barber, she's finally facing up to reality. She finally got that reality check. And everything she was saying in this interview is pretty much what I've been saying over here on this channel. Everything I was saying in the past is not to bash a young fighter like Maycee Barber or, even like fighters when I'm talking about Casey O'Neill with my constructive criticism. It's not to bash these fighters or put them down. It's just to talk about the level that I see them on, and just not overhype them. So for Maycee Barber, just like I said, time and time again, she's a young fighter. She's a young fighter. It's nice to have goals, but reality is a mother, man. It can sit you down real quick if you don't have the right tools, especially in this game. This is a harsh game. This is MMA. So, these fighters out here, they have to think in a much more logical stance. They have to really face up to reality. And a lot of the things that Maycee Barber addressed were just some of the things I've been saying in the past about her as a fighter. You can't just go off of feelings. You can't just say, okay, I have this feeling that I'm going to get here, and that's it. You know what I mean? There has to be a lot of hard work in between to get to this point, wherever you want to get to, And if you don't have the skills on any of these levels, you're going to drown. And like I said, that's something I always say about all these fighters. There's levels to this game. But I am glad that Maycee Barber is starting to realize that, if she wants to continue on as a fighter, because, she talked about a few different things about, having the torn ACL here and actually having to face up to reality and just kind of sit down and say, okay, this is what I need to improve on as a fighter. But, she also addressed, that feeling, her feeling this way and just focusing on this one main goal, and how after losing, it made her feel like what's next. Right? Because she jumped so far ahead. And that's why I'm saying a lot of these young fighters out here, they can't keep jumping so far ahead. Like, it's nice to have a goal ahead of you, but don't look so far ahead that you don't see these potholes in front of you where you could possibly trip and fall and break something along the way, right? And that's what happened to her. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying about these fighters out here, because so many of them call out the champ in this division, Valentina Shevchenko, the Bullet. I want Shevchenko. But as they get closer, they have to pump the brakes and realize that, what, it takes a lot of work to get here. I could lose along the way, or the closer I get to Valentina, I see how good she is. I hear that head kick to Valentina. I hear that head kick from Valentina to Jessica Ai's head, and it's like, whoa, you know what I mean? You have to kind of pump the brakes. So I'm glad that Maycee Barber is actually seeing that. Look, we got to sit back and really work on ourselves as a fighter, if we just want to become champion. We have to push aside that youngest champion bit. That's kind of like a once in a lifetime thing for, one fighter every era. You know what I mean? Fighters just luck out with that. Like Floyd Patterson way back in the day, one of the youngest heavyweight champions. Mike Tyson, breaking that record, becoming one of the youngest champions. John Jones becoming one of the youngest champions in MMA. That's just kind of like it's just kind of like a time of the moment thing. It's just perfect timing. Now, is the possibility of her becoming champion there? Yeah, it is. It's there. Everybody has that chance to become a champion, but becoming the youngest champion, that kind of really slims down your odds, because you're trying too hard. You're trying too hard at this one moment, especially when you're only like 23 years old and you don't even have the tools, you don't even have the mindset to get to that point, right? And it got stopped early when she fought Roxanne, right? So let's go over this interview here real quick. I just want to go over a couple points here, that she brought up that, I brought up in the past. They pointed out some good ones here in the actual article here. They said, this is what she said. Honestly, when I tore my ACL, I was thinking about it, because I was like, me being the youngest champion, it didn't seem as feasible, because obviously I was going to be out for a whole year. And that kind of messes with the timing and everything. But the thing that I learned was maybe I wasn't ready to become champion at the time. Maybe there were so many more lessons that I had. Maybe there was so much more growth that I had to do as a striker, as a wrestler, as a grappler. So right there, I mean, that's just basic, that's just basic math right there for me. Like everything, I seen in that Roxanne fight, even pre-Roxanne, there was a lot of things that I seen in her that needed to be developed. She had to bridge that gap, get takedowns, how you get takedowns, work on that wrestling, work on that clinch game. You know what I mean? Even work on her striking. Yeah, she's known as a hard hitter. Yeah, she has that equalizer, but she still needed to learn how to kind of switch up her stance, not throw with so much intensity on every punch. Know how to, set up those jabs, set up those right hands better. Don't brawl so much, because she started to become known as a brawler to a lot of people, just a slugger. You know what I mean? So with a lot of people thinking that way, and just how I'm analyzing her as a fighter, I was like, oh yeah, like there's a lot of work to be done here, even before the Roxanne fight. I know I picked her in the Roxanne fight to win, but as I watched it, I just saw her getting hit with a lot of shots, get dominated by Roxanne, and not know how to use her strength or her youth, and her athleticism. And right there, I was like, yeah, this is just what I've been saying. So after that moment when she torn her ACL, had to sit out for a year, I think she did have to kind of analyze herself like, a lot of us analysts on YouTube were doing. She had to go back and look at tapes and say, yeah, I got to develop myself as a well-rounded fighter, because I got dominated in this fight. I know it was the ACL, but I still got schooled by Roxanne. I know she didn't fully say that in this article or this interview, but I think we can safely say that she got a big learning experience even without the ACL tear in this fight, right? She still had a lot to learn, and her eyes got to open up, because even she said, like, whoa, like, I don't know if I can become the youngest champion now, because even if it wasn't the torn ACL, there's still a lot of tools. Like, let's say if she did go in there and knock Roxanne out, didn't suffer an ACL tear. If she didn't suffer a tear in her ACL, knock Roxanne out, there's still a lot of lessons for her to learn, right? And some of them would have been harder. Say if she got the Jennifer Meyer, Lauren Murphy, they might have, took her to school and, dominated and beat her, right? So she would have learned it from somebody. Somebody would have shown it. And, that's all I was saying. So, yeah, she's understanding now that she has to grow as a well-rounded fighter and just develop a lot of her skill sets now. No time like the present. She's only 23. Another thing she said here, that other thing that I also learned is when having a goal, I feel like that was the goal that I set. That was the goal for me, that I was like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to go after. And I didn't really plan anything after that, because I definitely had that feeling. I was like, well, wait, so I'm not going to get that. So obviously I'm not achieving that. And I was just like, so wait, what's next? All right. So I was emphasizing the words feel and feeling, because a lot of people, whether, it's in the fight game or whatever, when they say I feel like, or, I had this feeling, they're just going off of what they feel inside. Like, they're not going off of numbers. They're not going off of facts. They're not going off of logic. So right there, Maycee Barber saying she had that feeling, and, she had that feel that she could be champion. I feel I can be the youngest champion. You could already see that as a setback already, because from the jump, pre-Roxanne, when she first got into the UFC, she was always talking about, I want to break John Jones' record. I have this feeling I can be this champion. I have the feeling. And, when you have that feeling, you're going to be blinded by emotion. And along the way, you're going to feel like I'm this chosen one, and I feel like I can get here. I feel like I don't have to do this hard work and do this and do that, because this feeling is going to guide me there, right? And we know that never happens. You have to put in the hard work. This is the fight game. Like, Valentina didn't go off of feeling, right? She went off of L's. She went off of hard lessons. She went off of butt whoopings in the gym from other people. She went off of seeing holes in her game. She went off of humiliation. She went off of all of that. Any of these champions in the past, that's what they went off of, right? To improve as a fighter. They didn't just go off of feeling. So for Maycee Barber, I'm sure that, she improved herself as a fighter along the way, and was sparring and training and doing this and doing that, getting into condition and making weight, right? She was doing all of that. But when it came down to it, she was going off of feeling too much and just thinking that I can do this. I can break John Jones's record. That's something she kept stressing. I want to break John Jones's record, right? I want to break his record. I have this feeling. But there was just too much feeling and not enough improvement along the way. And it's obvious, right? We've seen it. Like, I'm not making this up. I'm not making any of this up. We could see that that's what she was going off of. Knocking girls out like Jillian Robertson, J.J. Aldridge. And, sometimes, look at the part like she was going to get exposed in the Aldridge fight. So along the way, I'm saying, okay, this is a fighter that's, showing some holes in her game. So the more and more she steps up, you might see her lose. I didn't know it was going to be Roxanne, but that's who the fighter was that took her to school, right? So a lot of that was going off of feelings, because if it wasn't, she would have been sitting back a little bit more and just put in the hard work and just started growing as a fighter. And she wouldn't even had the thought of trying to be the youngest champion at the time. Let's be real, because her skill set was nowhere in that realm And there was nothing really that special about her to say she could be the youngest champion. Harsh reality again, right? There was nothing special about her that was going to say she was going to go through Lauren Murphy, Andrade Chikagan, Jennifer Maia, etc., any of these fighters, and starch Valentina Shevchenko or give Shevchenko her first loss, right? There was nothing about her that said that, right? So that's something else I want to talk about these young champions here in a minute, along the way, in other sports as well. Some of these fighters that became the youngest champions ever, something about them has stood out. Something about them did stand out along the way. But let's see. Last thing I wanted to kind of go over here. Well, let me talk about one more thing here, because like she said, whenever that goal was crushed about her being champion, the youngest champion, it kind of gave her that feeling of like, what's next? See, that's another bad thing about going off a feeling. She let the feelings guide her too much and just let that be the one-way ticket. So whenever she lost, she had no feeling like, what's after? Like, she was like, okay, what do I do now? See, she set her goal too high, right? See, if she'd have went step by step, she could have said, okay, I lost here. I don't think I'll be the youngest champion in the game, but I could still be champion, right? Like I said, the possibility of Maycee Barber being champion, is higher. At some point of her being champion is higher than being the youngest champion, right? That the possibility of her getting the belt, I know Shevchenko's a champion, yeah, but the possibility of her getting the belt is higher at some point in her career is higher than her being the youngest champion, if you get what I'm saying, right? That makes sense. All right, so I think that she set her goal so high that it kind of put her off course, because now, like, okay, she says, well, man, like, I was supposed to be youngest champion. Now what's next? See, some fighters, they take an L and they just say, okay, that was a minor setback. We'll get right back in there. But she set a goal so high that she didn't know where to look. She didn't know what direction to turn, because she thought that was it. But that's not it. Whenever you just say, okay, I'm going to be the youngest champion, it'll kind of throw you off course. That's why I say you have to take it step by step and see if you really have that in you to become the youngest champion. Not just the feeling. You have to take one fight at a time and say, okay, I knocked J.J. Aldridge out. Okay, maybe I have a little something. Okay, I go in here. I can beat Roxanne. Okay, I have this. Okay, maybe I need to work on that. Okay, maybe somewhere along the way I can stop lying to myself that I'm going to be the youngest champion, right? You got to start going off of results and facts and what improvements you're making in the octagon, right? So, yeah, that's what I just wanted to say about that whole thing about, kind of throwing you off course there. But let's see. Last point here I just wanted to cover. So another thing she said, so for me, it was kind of a realization of, like, I'm still freaking 23. Uriah Faber tells me this all the time. I didn't start fighting or training until I was 24. And to me, I'm like, oh, yeah, I am young. I'm 9-2, soon to be 10-12 as a professional fighter. And I just have so much potential and so much growth. And the thing that I'm going to do in this life and in this career and in this platform is going to be huge, and is literally just the beginning. So, yeah, Uriah Faber, he's telling her right. He's gotten her right. He's also got Jan Janan in his camp as well. And I think he's been kind of giving these fighters some good gems, to kind of help them grow, not just in the octagon, but as fighters, as people as well. But, yeah, giving her that advice to say, look, hey, I started training at 24. Maycee needs to look at that as like a blessing, because she's 23 now, but she has years prior to that in the fight game, right? The thing is, she just set her goal so high and was going off a feeling that, she wasn't understanding that these were good years to just soak up and get a lot of humbling lessons and just learn, you know what I mean, and just develop to get to that point. She was so hung up on being the youngest champion and not developing what it takes to just be a champion at some point in your career, right? So, yeah, he's giving her the right advice. But, yeah, moving forward here, Maycee Barber, she's taking on Montana De La Rosa. Do I think she can win? Yeah, I think she could win, but I still think Montana has the tools and the skill set to handle a fighter like Maycee Barber. But for Maycee, this is her time to go in there and shine and say, okay, I'm back on course, and to kind of push away those naysayers and those harsh critics like myself to make us say, okay, she has some other level. You know what I mean? Like I said, Maycee Barber has a lot of natural abilities, and that's good. Like, she has a lot of natural abilities. Like, she wants to fight. She calls people out. She has a lot of heart. She is a 3-round fighter. She'll turn it up. She has that kill switch. She has power, that equalizer. So that's a lot of good stuff you can't let go to waste. She just needs the right people around her that can bring out the technical side. She needs more technicians around her, and I think Uriah Faber can help her with that, because that's something that Uriah Faber's helping up with Yan Xiaonan. You know, like Yan Xiaonan said, she used to learn the jiu-jitsu and the wrestling separately, and that's how they were. You know, just like, you know, they were separated, so she didn't really have a good grasp. But being with Uriah Faber, he's been helping her put it together, which will help her get takedowns and help her work on her mauling and her skills on the ground. Right? You need that. You need that. You need that gap filled. You know, and I think that's something that he can help her do, especially even like with Maycee Barber. Like, help Maycee Barber get the technical side together with the natural abilities that she has, right? That's what she needs at this point in her career. So yeah, man, final thoughts. Like I said, I just want to come through and just talk about just Maycee Barber here, but just, you know, young fighters in general. Like, I'm glad that she's getting this reality check. And this is another video coming, but, you know, Casey O'Neill, she's also getting that. You know, these young fighters are really starting to wake up, which is crazy. Just after like a few weeks of big talk, they all start getting their eyes open. See, even Casey O'Neill getting her eyes open, even off a win. You know what I mean? Now she's prolonging the champion, the title shot or the road to a championship for another 3-4 years, right? So I'm glad that they are doing that. You know, go ahead and take the time out to work, because I'd rather see them work and develop as a fighter than just become another body on Valentina's resume at this point. You know, I want to see some competition. But again, final thoughts from Maycee Barber. It takes a lot of work. You know, it just takes a lot of work to be champion, period. You know, so for her to think she could be the youngest champion, that's just unreal. You know, like I said, it just comes with the era. You know, it's all about perfect timing when it comes to some of these fighters in the past, like Floyd Patterson become the youngest heavyweight champion. And then Mike Tyson become the youngest heavyweight champion. Then John Jones becoming the youngest champion in the UFC, right? It's all about, it's not set out in stone that somebody has to be that youngest champion, right? It's just all about something special about these fighters. They had something special about. And for me, again, sound harsh, but Maycee just didn't have anything special about her. Yes, she had natural power, but coming into the game, she didn't necessarily have anything special about her, right? So she just got to put in that work and try to get there and climb there. So yeah, man, guys, that's all I got on this one. Just letting y'all know it's hard work in this game. From the outside looking in, I can tell you that as well. But let me know y'all thoughts on Maycee Barber growing as a fighter. Do you think she'll ever get to that point of being a title challenger? Do you think she'll make it to the top 10, you know, again? Do you think she'll get to the top 5? All separate questions. What do you think, guys? Do you think she'll beat Montana De La Rosa? That's the big question. Got to get past Montana De La Rosa first, guys. Let me know. Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Subscribe. Peace. And oh, yeah, still don't think she beat Miranda Maverick. Peace.